somewhat more on the tight side, keep it mellow. And at some point here, I'm going to start switching gears in certain spots. So we're trying to take more flops so people don't expect me to have the hands that I have, more or less. At this point, even though people aren't paying attention to every single hand and situation that's going on, because either people are multi-tabling or they're, watching the boob tube or whatever, they at least they know kind of more or less who's been in more pots or not. I mean, ace jack, of course, perfectly fine. Opening under the gun. Here, I know I'm still ahead of this guy's range since he's in a lot of pots. Not even sure exactly what his VPIP is, but um, so I figure I was planning on just check calling there, actually. Um, betting is also perfectly fine, but again, this guy, the main reason why I didn't is just because this guy's more of a station, and I'm not going to get anything. And I figure if he had a big ace, you probably would have bet in that spot. So I make kind of a smaller size bet when the ace hits. He just flat calls. So I don't know. I'm either putting him on a draw, maybe a smaller ace or something. So I'm looking just to squeeze a little bit of value here. Could have bet a tiny bit larger actually, but he just flat calls, and yeah, we split the pot here. So it gives me a little bit of insight about how he plays hands. He didn't um, try and steal in that spot, so he seems to be a little bit more on the passive side post flop. I'm putting him more into the stationing area. 5-6, perfectly happy just to take a flop here. Obviously, I betting this hand for value to protect my hand. It's unlikely he has a king or something else. I might get a call from a draw or whatever else, but I bet kind of on the somewhat smaller side. And talking about bet sizing, even though this is a limped pot, um, generally, and especially at these limits, you can get away because people don't tend to be that observant about bet sizes, I've noticed. But if you have top pair or something else going on a draw heavy board, you can bet closer to the full size of the pot. Um, Something like middle pair or something in the weak hand, you can bet a little bit more towards 3/4 of the pot and get the same result in these kinds of situations. But as long as you occasionally mix it up with like top pair and stuff like that, you'll be totally fine. And also bet heavier depending on whether it's realistic someone has that hand and the board is really dry. And sometimes I say draw E, and it doesn't sounds like I'm saying dry, but I mean draw heavy. Um, and so you get more value by doing that because a lot of opponents they love to draw. I mean, especially fish cakey kind of players. So, anyways, he folds this hand. 9-6. So now I'm just gonna see because I've raised a few and blah blah blah. I'm gonna see if I can ever sneak into some flops. Some players anytime. I mean, pretty much you limp. They'll come in, and a lot of times I just promote either raising or folding small blind anyways. But if I can get into a flop, I'm gonna try. Just being the flop junkie that I am. Uh, Jack 8, perfectly fine to open raise from 2 there. I haven't really been that active, so uh, probably a small missed value there. Ace Jack, this guy's been a little bit more on the somewhat tighter side, but I'm gonna take a flop in position and see what hits. King High flop, both players check to me, so you know I'm gonna bet my hand for value to protect the hand. There's a couple draws or um, there are things that yeah everyone just folds. Perfectly fine also occasionally to check behind there because I'm really the only card that I'm worried about is something that would complete a draw or possibly a queen coming. Anything else is okay. The two pair hand, if ace comes, might be a little bit scary. So that's kind of why I like just to draw. Excuse me, bet and take down the pot. Jack deuce, obviously easy fold. Just gonna skip past that hand, nothing interesting. Mini raise at 3-4. Suited connectors, and I especially say this as people are learning the game. Don't advocate playing them out of position. Sometimes if overcalling and just trying to hit a big flop is fine, especially as you get more comfortable in your post flop play. But definitely, as you're kind of figuring out how to play against certain opponents and playing hands like that out of position, because usually you're not going to flop like trips, two pair or something. Most of the time it's going to be some kind of draw. So you have to know how to get either those get in situations where you can get your opponent to fold, or you know just get to the next card as cheap as possible, and mini raise and call, and immediately this looks to be his standard size when it's more towards he has something. He gets a call here, but he does shut down on the turn and fold. Okay, so actually I think I did make some kind of note. On a paired board here, though, he 3-bet. So even though it was for my mini re-raise, that's a little bit, that's a little bit stronger. You kind of want to be more. He doesn't need to bet too much, I guess I should say, on that board texture, no matter what. So it's not really that telling of anything. But it's good to know. He showed here and showed that he was willing to call a 3-bet there with that hand and a flop bet. Um, So either he feels confident that he can outplay him a little bit or something. I don't know. 10-7 here on the button. After again we have our fishy in the pot. I want to come into the pot. I don't need to raise. Um, Here we get another raise from four skis, and once we get our fishy in the pot here, I want to take a flop in position. I'm not taking a flop with this hand to really necessarily extract a lot of money from the raiser. I'm looking to get into a raise pot with an opponent, when we have a little bit behind us, so that if he hits something like top pair and I hit like two pair or better, a flush, a straight or something, I will, I have good propensity to, get his whole stack in that spot. So um, basically, to sum that up, it's called implied odds. Um, So, really bad flop for me. I flop a flush. I'm hitting life.